success. Joining me today are our speakers, Andy Wilson, who's the Senior Project Manager for O&M Mobilisation Projects. Andy's based in the UK but currently running international projects. The next speaker will be Wayne, Senior Project Manager for O&M Mobilisation Projects. Wayne's also based in the UK, has international experience but is currently working on a UK project. My name's Ian Blacker, I'm the Business Development Manager, also based in the UK and working for FORTUM eNext on third-party O&M sales. Before we get into the presentation, then we'd just like to give a quick brief on FORTUM as a company. FORTUM have now updated its strategy in alignment with the EU's ambitions and goals of the Paris Agreement. FORTUM's target is to be a carbon neutral by 2050 at the latest, and in our European fleet, our target is by 2035. FORTUM have core operations in 10 countries with over 800 energy sector professionals worldwide. FORTUM have 2.5 million customers across different brands and 150 power plants. The power plants include hydro, CHP, waste for energy and nuclear. We are growing in solar and wind. We supply heat in some 24 cities and towns, and we have 5 main waste treatment facilities. We are now 75% ownerships in Uniper, and we welcome them into our group. For FORTUM eNext, and this is the service division for FORTUM, and we have three main areas, being the turbine and generator service, environmental, and then third-party O&M. eNext have built up our capabilities and experience from owning and operating our own fleet for many different technologies. We provide these services outside of FORTUM, and we've done this for many years. And as an example, we have been providing third-party O&M in the UK since the early 1990s. Mobilisation, creating the foundation for success. The process of developing a new power plant from its inception to commercial operations is complex and demanding. To meet the requirement for the efficiency and desired return on investment while executing mobilisation of operation and maintenance service plays a central role. A careful conducted mobilisation phase provides the power plant with trained personnel and well-prepared management systems and supporting digital tools. This enables a secure and start of commercial operations after commissioning. Andy and Wayne, I'm going to hand over to you. I just want to let viewers know that please ask us any questions during this presentation. Write to us and we'll answer them as we go. So over to you both. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. What we'd like to talk about today then is really the main goals and aims within mobilisation, just to give you some idea of the targets that need to be achieved during the mobilisation process, so the operations and maintenance team are ready for the commercial takeover of the plant. So some of the key targets that really are the focus when you're doing the mobilisation phase is initially understanding what all the stakeholder requirements are. Now, the obvious stakeholder is going to be the owner of the plant, but there's other stakeholders to consider as well. You've got people like the Environment Agency, you've got local residents, neighbours to the plant, and any other company that has some input or is looking for some outputs from the power station. Now, one of the key things to do at the beginning of the mobilisation phase is to look at what the contractual obligations are for the operations and maintenance team. And one way to do this is to look at all your contractual documents and list all the requirements that are identified within those documents, not only for the operations and maintenance team, but also for the other main players within the setup of the power station, which will be the owner and the EPC company as well. And the idea would be to list all these items down, identifying who's responsible for each one, and more importantly, putting a timeline against it. And this then sets out the phase or the program to be followed through the mobilization period.
Thank you, Andy. Also, the other key targets in the mobilization phase, and which now play a key role in the modern power plants, is digitalization and digital tools that we use. And this is important that we implement these in the mobilization phase, covering tools for our maintenance management system, process descriptions, process analysis, and also simulation training for all the staff. So this is ready in place for the handover period in commercial operations.
Yeah, and one of the other key areas that we look at during mobilization is the recruitment of the staff. Clearly, we need everybody on board and everybody ready for the takeover of the plant. So during the mobilization phase, the recruitment takes place, and also the training. Training of the staff is obviously key to have everyone prepared and ready. And that's not only training on the power station, it's training within the company, understanding the company policies and setup, and really getting everybody ready to be in the position where they have sufficient knowledge, understanding of the processes, procedures, and the operation of the plant through training with the EPC team and supporting during commissioning. So when that handover phase comes, everyone on site is ready to move into the operational period.
And also moving now to the heart of the day-to-day part of the business, which is the integrated management system, as IMS we call this. This is important for the day-to-day management of our business risks and everyday business needs. And it's the key thing that we want to put in place during the mobilization, so we get the ownership from the team, implementation, all ready for the commercial operations. Okay, next slide, Ian, please.
Okay, so what we have here is what we consider to be the key elements of a successful mobilization. And now when we think about mobilization, you think of the period when everybody's at site. But there is equally an important time before that, which for obvious reasons we call pre-mobilization, where a lot of activities can take place to prepare not only the setup on the site, but the owners as well for the mobilization period, building of the power station, and the preparation for the operational period. Now, as an O&M provider, we can certainly support the owners of the power station through this pre-mobilization. It's the time when we will identify the mobilization manager, and that person will get heavily involved with the owners of the site. And we can also support along with design reviews, looking at the technical aspects of the plant and using years of understanding and knowledge of operating and maintaining power stations to propose some design changes or simple fixes to the way that the plant is being proposed or the plant is being designed to help through the operational phase. And simple changes here can be realized in quite significant cost savings when we get into the operational phase.
Yes, and to help with all of these processes and the way we develop mobilization is in a standardized way. So the key thing is the FORTUM developed a standardized way, and the mobilization packages are designed to fit the stakeholder requirement. We think about the tools, we tailor the tools from a standardized package into the way that the business needs are created, from our IT packages to our integrated management systems, where we cover the different requirements, especially from country to country for the laws and legislation, and the way that we manage the business in the different countries as well. Also the maintenance, in how we cover the maintenance based from a lot of the information from the equipment providers, and we tailor that into fitting the main business needs.
Yes, certainly. And clearly successful recruitment is a key part of having a successful operation team. So through the recruitment process, we have systems in place to make sure that the people that are selected for the various roles have got suitable skills to fit in with not only the requirements of the plant, but also fit in with the whole structure of the team. You know, every person that works on the site has a key role, and we need to make sure that they're able to mix, able to work within that team structure, but also have the drive and the skills to be able to take this forward and really make a success of the mobilization and the operational period. The mobilization time isn't long. It varies from plant to plant, but equally within that time, you know, we have a short period to really build a team and make sure that we have everything that's needed for the successful operation of the plant.
Question for you then, Andy. Regarding the pre-mobilization, who would you typically be speaking with or communicating with during that period? Like, would it be the EPC, consultants, owners?
Generally, in the pre-mobilization period, you'd spend most of your time with the owners, really. It's an opportunity to start to build that relationship with the owners, show them what they can expect to get from the O&M team. And it's a time to help them with things like the design reviews and use the knowledge that we've gained from many years of operating and maintaining plants to help the owners move forward. And also in these periods, we can assist them in discussing with bodies like the Environment Agency and look at some of the other aspects that's required from a legislative point of view.
Okay, and a question for you then, Wayne, regarding successful recruitment. It's got here that people with high motivation and teamwork skills. I mean, how do you keep a team highly motivated?
Yes, well, Ian, this is the key and the heart of the business, you know, and investing in the people we employ. So the important thing is what we look for within the team is that ownership, and we develop that ownership at the early stages of the mobilization, so that they feel a part of it, they feel part of the development. And our experience has shown in the past that it highly motivates people when they get this ownership, they're involved with something, they see a sense of purpose of what they've developed. They can see something, you know, in front of them that they developed. For example, like the IMS system and things like that. And this is a great motivator for people. And it is part of the FORTUM culture very much, that we've got highly motivated people to help us manage the business in the way that we take it forward.
Okay. All right, I'll move you on to your next slide. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Really what we're showing on this slide is it's a picture of the timeline. Now, mobilization, the time for mobilization is very dependent on the type and size of power station that we'll be looking after. You can have a short mobilization, you can have a long mobilization. Irrespective of the timing, though, the activities that need to take place are pretty much the same. And it doesn't really matter what type of plant it is either. The key thing is that everything aligns so the activities are carried out. Now, this starts in pre-mobilization, and as we said before, the whole starting point is your contractual obligations, and they are identified very early on, and ideally using the plant manager once she's in place as well, because it starts to build that understanding within the team of the tasks that need to be achieved within a finite time. And not only within mobilization, but you also look at what leads over into the operational period as well. Excuse me.
And that's as Andy is explaining here. I mean, it shows how we align the people to the key activities within the mobilization period, and this affirms the question, Ian, about the motivation of people. They're involved at the early stage, but not only involved in the mobilization activities, but they're involved in the development of the plant. They see the plant growing in front of them, and it means that they can get their hands involved with that, to get the information, to understand the equipment, the process. All this is an important foundation for a smooth transition into the operational period. As you can see, we show the IMS development year right through the mobilization period, and this becomes the heart of managing our day-to-day business and business risks, and how the staff are involved with that development in the importance of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it's a kind of, if you think about it from a time point of view, it works from the back to front, oddly enough, because you will have within the contract the date for your operational handover. And we work back from there, identifying the key things that need to be done. You'll generally have a time identified from the EPC team as to when the training will happen, and also when commissioning will happen. So you certainly know when it comes time for EPC training, you need to have all your staff ready and on site. But not only for the EPC training point of view, but also from the training from your own company perspective as well, because there's not just understanding the operation of the plant, but it's understanding, as Wayne said, all the systems and processes that we put into place as well, which is why the recruitment is phased and aligned with key areas, such as the setting up of the maintenance management system. You can easily set that up with one or two people, but it doesn't develop what Wayne talked about earlier, which is the ownership and that understanding of what's going on, and helping to build that motivation, because the individuals are invested and involved in the developments of the system. Although the IMS is there as a base tool, it is developed along the way. When the detail of the plant comes out and the detailed requirements come out as well, then all these things are built in, not only from the experience of FORTUM or the O&M provider, but also with the experience of all the people you bring in to the team as well. And that helps to grow and develop the system right through to the point when, as Wayne says, we're ready for a smooth transition into the operational period.
And as we mentioned, it's like having the maintenance management system in place, not ready for commercial operation, but also ready for the start of commissioning. So what happens is we are collecting that data, we are collecting our baseline information that's very important for the continual maintenance and operation and availability of the plant going forward. So, and we work very closely with the EPC contractors in this to get the information, to upload it into the maintenance management system, so that we are actually capturing and monitoring that data and monitoring the plant status from that early stage as well.
Okay. So thinking of some of the questions that I get asked when I'm talking to customers, and one, I understand on the recruitment schedule that we try to, as much as possible, employ local staff, local to the power plant. What would typically be the skills that we would bring in, and why? And maybe I'll ask that question to you, Wayne, if you don't mind.
Okay, so the important thing here is about the FORTUM way of working. And the key point here is that we want to bring some members of the management team. Typically, the mobilization manager will be a FORTUM person and has experience and been in FORTUM for quite a number of years, with the experience of mobilization and managing and operating the plants within FORTUM. Also, the plant manager coming into the organization is important. There's a background of FORTUM, and the same thing with the operations manager and the maintenance manager. The reason why we talk about that core team there, bringing them in from FORTUM themselves is because then they bring the culture of FORTUM, they bring the culture in the way that we manage the mobilization and the operational period here. And then this helps to introduce that to the staff that we recruit locally, which develops the staff into the FORTUM way of working and gives them the ownership and the understanding ready for moving into the commercial operation period.
Okay, and I'm just going to pick one out random here for you, Andy. The document controller. What's the role of a document controller during the mobilization period?
Okay, that's maybe a good one to pick on, Ian, because it kind of stands out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
With the IMS, the IMS is the system, as we've said, that identifies all your day-to-day activities and has all your processes and procedures. And at the beginning of the mobilization phase, it's the mobilization manager who helps to initially set that up and direct and lead the team and help them with the development of the documents and the processes and the procedures within that. And as Wayne has previously said, that process goes right through the whole mobilization phase. So at the point of handover, you have a document system that's ready with all the information required for the staff when they take the plant over. But going forward, obviously the mobilization manager won't be there. So once the staff are recruited, a key person within the team needs to be identified to take over that responsibility of managing the IMS. So they're the person who controls the documents, controls the document process, and helps with the day-to-day upkeep of the IMS and the audits and systems like that. So it's once the system is in a pretty well developed position that you can train a document controller to take that over as well. And then there's still plenty of time within the mobilization phase and beyond, really, for the mobilization manager to assist and make sure that that the system is well maintained and well managed and gives that document controller enough time to be confident to take that over.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll move on to your next slide.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So as we mentioned earlier on in this presentation, the integrated management system becomes the heart of the day-to-day business and how we manage the day-to-day activities and the business risks and all the business needs. And if you can see on the slide down the left-hand column there, these are what we call the main key activities that the IMS is supporting and we are looking at. For example, our health and safety, all of our processes for managing health and safety and environmental risks in that way. So we've got them defined, we've got the control measures in place, everything to manage that. And the staff are well trained into those processes to how to manage all the business risks around that. Same thing where we talk about the business risks, where we put in place the continuity plans to ensure that we are managing the whole continuity of our business, identifying all the risks around the business to make sure that, again, we mitigate all the risks around that and they are well managed. The operation and the maintenance period, Andy will talk about that in a minute about, the key about those areas. But we cover the key things, again, like the purchasing, the tools and equipment, how we intend to manage these. And the key thing about this process is we have the end user interface in mind and try to keep it as simple as we can, because if you keep it simple, people will use it. And the key thing is about the staff involved in the development of this to take it forward into the commercial operation. And it's about then the easy access to using the tools and implementing it, in the everyday business needs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Wayne. It's the day-to-day tool. And the important thing about this as well, as Wayne said, is the user interface. It's to make a system that's straightforward, simple, easy to use, but has masses of information in there, but information that's accessible. Now, the way the IMS is designed is you have your core processes. So that's, determine your stakeholder requirements, but not just determining them, but upkeeping them, making sure that you understand your stakeholder needs and basically meet those and keep them satisfied and exceed them, in fact. And then your two main key the processes, sorry, are the maintenance and the operation. It's why you're there. It's why you exist. You're there to maintain and you're there to operate the plant. And within those, there's the processes that help the team from very early stages. For example, within the maintenance, there's process maps which guide the team through how to identify the maintenance requirements for the plant, how to set up their maintenance programs, then how to conduct that maintenance, and also how to review the maintenance that's being done and feed back in again and change the maintenance processes as they need to be to ensure that there's an efficient way of upkeeping the plant. But all those processes you can see below, they're what we call the support processes, and they feed in and they cover every aspect of the business as well. Now, when we initially set up the IMS, it's not a case of we start with nothing, a blank sheet, and try and develop it. This process has been developed over many, many years. And as we said before, it can easily be turned to any power station because they're pretty much standard processes. It's only when you start looking into the detail with the team of the plant that it can be fine-tuned and adjusted to meet the requirements of the plant. But one thing to remember here is it's a way of guiding the team through the mobilization phase and getting them ready. Once they understand the content of the IMS and understand how it works, it gives them the confidence to move forward. If there was nothing there, if you go back to the point of the mobilization, you have no mobilization plan. When you put people in place, they tend to fall onto things that they're either comfortable with or things that they understand, but that won't necessarily be the right things that they should be looking at. So that's why it's important that we start with the main areas within the IMS or the first areas within the IMS, which is understanding the stakeholder requirements, understanding your obligations, and then setting those up to guide the team through the way it should be done so they can hit all those targets when they need to hit the targets and not go off in various tangents. So it gives them guidance, it gives them direction, and it gives them confidence as well because it's easy to gain that information that they need.
And also, Andy, the important thing that we talk about here, coming off the back of what Andy's saying, is this is a real powerful training tool for all the staff. Very, very easy to use because we do it in the format of a process map from top down with guidance notes associated with it, and then supporting documents as input and output forms, work instructions, and everything that are linked into this. So it's a very, very simple but very, very powerful training tool for all the staff. And it's very, very simple to audit as well from an ISO perspective or from external auditors of various types. Very easy process to audit. But this really becomes the heart then of the day-to-day business. And as Andy has already described, it doesn't stand still. It's about continual improvement with it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. On to the next slide.
Okay, so the ISO standards, they're the icing on the cake, really. It's not the aim of the IMS to be developed from the ISO standards. The IMS is developed to ensure that the team has the controls and the information at hand, easy accessible, to ensure that it covers all their day-to-day activities, day-to-day needs, and business risks. And that's why and how it's developed. It is developed with the standards in mind and can quite easily achieve the ISO standards. In fact, on many sites, it's not only achieved ISO 9000, 14000, 45000, but it also achieves other standards that may be required either from a country's perspective or a legislation perspective as well. But it's not the main driving tool for the IMS. You get some systems that are driven and developed from the IMS upwards, from the ISOs upwards, but this isn't. This is developed with the focus of the business needs in mind. The fact that it meets the ISO standards is not by mistake, it is by design, but it's not the driving factor. So
we've run out of time. I just want to thank you both for your time today. That was really interesting. I really hope that the people who are listening to us have also found it interesting. The conclusions which we take from this is the selection of a good O&M partner. We spoke about that, a bankable O&M partner with experience, stakeholder meeting the requirements. So there's a lot of interfaces, a lot of involvement from a lot of different parties, and being able to integrate and work with them. And then that all leads to really what we talked about today here with pre-mobilization, mobilization, setting up for success. So once the operation starts, then everything is a smooth transition. We're going to be answering any questions, so please ask Andy and Wayne and myself any questions you want to ask. We're going to be here for a while, so please do that. And just leaves for me to thank you very much for your time and listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.